Welcome to the Anime Research Society podcast, episode number 15, our mission to explore the depths of anime, the good, the bad, and the absolutely insane. We'll take a look at some of the best and the worst of the season, and give you some of our recommendations to lead you on your own research journey. I'm your host, Lisa Mior, and joining me today are an extremely talented panel of experts. We have Cole Watson.
Boy, are we covering some of the worst this week.
You said that every week.
Yeah, you actually kind
You're
of...
going to say that?
What?
Yeah.
There's a lot of
Well,
bad
it's
to
a
cover.
bad season.
It's a bad season. I think we're over the fact that it's a bad season. We're just going to have to plow through it.
Yeah.
Like the champions that
As
we are
much
and
as
the
you
professionals.
complain about like having watched bad anime, we will be covering bad anime because that is our job.
Yeah. We're professionals.
So deal with it.
Yeah.
I'm looking at my contract. I don't have to show up on weekends.
You didn't sign a contract. Did you sign a contract? I didn't sign a contract.
The imaginary contract in my
I
heart.
handed him a contract.
Where the hell
He's
did you get
obligated.
a contract?
I wrote it up myself.
It
Said,
is
On
for
a
something
napkin?
completely unrelated.
With lipstick?
yeah, and Cole just said, wow, this looks official.
I'll sign it.
Oh my gosh. Well, I guess since we're all talking, I should introduce the rest of you. We also have Remington Joseph.
Hey, how's it going? I
Cool.
didn't suffer.
You didn't suffer. You didn't
Surprisingly.
hate this. You didn't hate this week.
Not completely.
Yeah. Okay. All right. And we had Preston Dosa.
Hey, I also didn't suffer because one of the shows we're talking about is something I really, really liked, and the other show is, wow, indifference is a good word to describe it, but honestly, just like watching it.
Okay, alright, fair enough. Okay, I guess we should tell everybody what we watched this week. So if you didn't listen last week, this week we are covering Free, Dive to the Future, and Hanebado. So we were going full sports. Full
Yep.
sports!
Full sports.
Full sports!
2 weeks, all sports, all the time.
I love
No,
sports
there was only one sports last week.
Well, it's a sport. It was a sport in the week.
Yeah, so we're on a sports theme because that seems to be the theme. Have we gone through all the sports anime this season? No.
Maybe?
No, I think we have.
Yeah, might be. I don't know.
All I'm saying is, after watching the shows this week, what I really want is, I get why they're releasing like a beach volleyball show, like an athletic show in the middle of summer, but like I want someone to do like beach volleyball and release it in the winter season. I think it would be really helpful for everyone because we
Just
could be
to
like,
mix it up.
we could see the light at the end of the tunnel. Like, oh yes, I want to play beach volleyball in 4 months once we get out of this AC hellhole.
I can't wait for hockey in summer.
Yes. Why isn't there hockey anime? Damn it, Japan.
Well, I think there isn't there a hockey anime already?
No.
At all?
I don't think so.
There's a lacrosse one,
Yeah, there
but
is.
there's no hockey one?
Where's curling?
That would be badass. We need a curling anime.
Do we?
Yeah, I think we do.
I actually like curling.
Yeah,
Curling's great, man.
we had a curling team at my high school. It was I didn't join it. See, there's one thing
Wow,
I didn't do.
she
There we
didn't
go.
do it.
Hey.
I didn't do it. I didn't do it.
Anyways, where are we talking about first?
So we're going to start with Free, Dive to the Future. So Free, Dive to the Future is actually the third season of Free. There was a good long 1.5 year pause in between Free Eternal Summer and Dive to the Future. So it starts off with Free Iwatomi Street Swim Club, then we have Free Eternal Summer, and this is now Free Dive to the Future. So just to recap, for anyone who's never actually watched any of the Free series, it was pretty popular way back in the early 2000s. But
I mean, the early 2010s?
Yeah.
Like 2-3 years ago?
Guys, it's all blurring together. It was pretty popular at the time. And it followed a group of boys who grew up swimming, fell their separate ways away from the sport, and came together in high school to form a swim team and learn how to do the medley together, all while healing their previous wounds that they had of whatever internal struggles they were suffering, and discover themselves as swimmers and as people, because that's a sports anime for you. All right. So anyway, Dive to the Future takes place well after high school. So our two main characters, Haruka and Ayashi, and one more person, I forgot his name. Haruka and Rin and another one of the members of the original high school team. They all graduated and they all started high school. Huh? Makoto, thank you, Makoto. And they graduated. They're attending a college in Tokyo. Rin decided to pursue his Olympic and world stage goals of swim expertise by going to Australia. So we're following them and seeing what's happening now. So Haruka and meets another person that they used to swim that we kind of only hinted at in the first 2 seasons, and his name is Ayashi, and they used to swim as part of a relay team in middle school when they were part of the Iwatomi Swim Club. And so they met again, and they just said, oh, remember all these people back in middle school? Because that's what you do when you reunite with somebody. And it they went to that place, and they started, joining. I actually convinced him to join the swim team on at the college level, and they during initial friendly meet, they met up with somebody who was another very important person that we never actually heard about in the first 2 seasons, named Akuya, who was really close with them in the team, and they were all part of the original Iwatomi relay team. And yeah, that's basically follows that. And then on Rin's side, we're following him on his progression to the Olympic stage, dealing with running into professional swimmers in Australia and Australia. And
I apologize.
Yeah. And other people who have different philosophies than him in swimming, because up until this point he was extremely very dedicated to being the best and always competing against somebody. And so that's generally what this season is about. We're following those 2 characters and their 2 different diverging timelines. Okay, should we just get started with episode 1, or do you guys have some thoughts before we start?
I guess, how about we preface how much experience we have with the free series?
Yeah, that's pretty good. Okay, because you just started watching it when I recommended this one, right?
No.
Or just before? No. Or at the beginning of the season when I said we're going to be watching it.
Oh, no, even before that.
Did you?
Yeah, when Free originally released, I watched the first season, and I'm indifferent to it. I thought it had a lot of good animation, but the actual plot lines and characters, I was just this is kind of like generic sports fare, but I can see why it's popular.
Which is?
Because it's well animated, and because girls can easily ship the characters.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's Fujoshi.
Here's the thing. This is what I like about it the most, is that, it's total, okay, sports anime are always fan service when they're in this kind of shoujo kind of way of doing a sports anime, as we discussed in the last episode. All the markers are there.
Yeah.
All right. What I do like about this is there's no love interest in this at all. All right. You can ship all you want. You can come up with whatever fan theories you want, but there's nothing explicitly outlined or even hinted at, and it's all based on friendship and developing a familial love for somebody and a platonic love for your close friends and intimacy in that.
Yeah, that's something that I didn't expect, because I've never watched any free season before, so this was my first time. And I figured I was expecting that fan service, and it didn't happen. And I was pleasantly surprised by that. I was like, oh, these guys are just really friendly. They're just their friends. I was like, that's cool. I liked it. It was nice.
This was the first one for me, because I watched it when it came out, and I've been watching it ever since. I actually just rewatched the first 2 seasons before this came out. That's what I liked about it. It was this is a different relationship level that we're exploring in the whole thing. And it doesn't even hold any pretense about that. There's there's never even any jokes about any the easy gross attacks that they normally to make fun of any kind of homosexual relationship. There's no jokes or anything like that. It's literally just we're friends, and this is how friends can be with each other, and it's totally okay to be emotional as guys, and which I understand is a very difficult thing. Growing up as a guy, you don't have that outlet, and to see that as actual characters was I thought was a really important and awesome thing to be shown. How about you, Preston? What did you think?
Well, my previous experience with Free, I have seen bits and pieces here and there of it. I am aware of Free. I'm aware of its popularity. And while I've watched I think I watched a handful of episodes back in the first season, I never really got into it. So tuning into this third season, it was really my first time going into it with the intent of okay, I'm going to watch this, I'm going to critique it, I'm going to judge it and see how this thing is, because it just passed me by beforehand.
Okay, cool. All right, so let's get started with episode 1, Sprouting Dive Start. I love these titles. Oh, did you guys all watch it in Japanese or did you watch it in dub?
In Japanese.
Japanese.
I'll watch it in Japanese. I'm the only one that watched it in dub. I actually watched it in both, so.
Surprise!
Surprise, I watched it in both. I actually kind of like the English dub a little bit better because Funimation has finally gotten themselves a great collection of voice actors who, like, earlier dubs for this season before they redid it were not good. Like, they originally, like, the first 2 seasons, they had, like, the original launch dub, and it was, They actually have voice actors who, you know, treat every conversation like an actual English conversation, which was kind of cool. So I didn't find myself like, ugh, I wish I would prefer it. I don't prefer it either way. I think both are really, really strong. So I thought it was kind of cool. But anyway, spreading to dive. So Haruka has entered Hidaka University, and he's training now to prepare, to be like the newcomer coming to the tournament. And so he runs into his, as we talked about before, his middle school friend Asahi, who was a part of the Iwatomi middle school relay team that he was, or club that he was part of. I don't think he was actually on the relay team together. No, he was. Anyway, so Haruka is later joined by his other friend that we learned from, Eternal Summer and Iwatomi Swim Club, Makoto, who doesn't want to pursue professional sports. He actually decided by the end of the second season that he wants to be a swim instructor.
Okay, I figured, because I was like, he doesn't need to do anything.
No.
Kind of there.
He actually decided to take the teacher's college route because he discovered his love for. He's never had a real passion for swimming, but he always wanted to do something with it. He enjoyed the friendships and that, and he loved the idea of bringing it to a new generation.
Well, good for him.
Yeah, it was really sweet. Anyway, so they all moved to Tokyo. They all catch up, and the topic quickly turns to the one other member of their relay team who they haven't seen in years, which was Ikuya.
Yeah.
Ikuya. And so one day, on the day of the newcomer tournament, they are all in the same. They are in the same race, and somebody in the stands, who we were introduced to later as Hiyori, saw Hakura swim, and he's like, "Oh, you're just like an inferior copy of Ikuya," who we find out later is his actual best friend. In a really creepy relationship.
It's weird. I don't like him.
Really weird.
I don't like him at all.
Yeah, I have a lot of ideas about this, and it's really kind of freaking me out. And so after the race, as Haruka is walking away from the change room, he notices Ikuya, and they're like, they do the whole, is that guy? And that's where the episode ends. Okay.
The classic, is it that guy?
Is it that guy? We all know, actually, we do know it is that guy.
That guy with the green hair?
The guy with the green hair.
The only one?
Yeah. Who we also find out in that episode, he's very dedicated to what he is doing. He and Hiyori have this really interesting relationship where Ikuya is kind of like, I don't really care about you, but you're my best friend, so I'm going to just, be there. Like, he's like present, but he's not present kind of thing, where Hiyori is like, super clean.
Yeah,
like,
he already just seemed like a possessive friend. He's like, I don't want you to talk to anyone else, or you'll realize I suck, and then not talk to anyone. So he just keeps them away.
Yeah. All right, guys, what did you think of this episode?
I liked it.
Yeah, it was okay.
I thought it was all right.
Immediately, it brought up that this feels like role reversal to me of like the first season, where it's the same kind of like plot of the first season, where it's like someone has been damaged because Haru gave up swimming.
Yeah.
And now it's how they got affected by it. So Rin, he moved, and
yeah. So he's Ikuya's Rin replacement.
Yeah, exactly. And now Rin has evolved. We've lost. Well, they're still there, but they're more side characters now than ever. Especially Nagisa and Rei from the previous swim club, because they're not old enough to go to university.
Which we find out in this episode that they've taken over the high school swim club that Haruka and Makoto have left.
Yeah.
So those characters,
they're still there, but we don't really see much of them.
Yeah, were they more prominent in the seasons?
Okay, so in the first 2 seasons, we had Haruka and Makoto, and the other 2 characters whose names I really suck at.
Nagisa and Rei.
Yeah, Nagisa and Rei are all part of the high school swim team, and so it actually follows them predominantly, with Rin kind of coming in, and Rin becomes a more central figure, that not just an antagonist kind of like this is the struggle to overcome that he was in the first season. By the second season, they're actually like he's a supporting force with like competitive undertones to it because it's a growth thing, not like competition as like enemies, but competition as like how to make each other better kind of thing. So so it was kind of weird in that episode. I found that I was expecting to see all four of them kind of like see like a cut between them more consistently, but
I mean, you get that later.
Not really. We kind of leave them behind in the first.
Well, it feels like it's focused on the lives of Haru and Rin, but they're the ones that matter to me anyway. Or it seems like.
Well, they were the main characters in the first two seasons.
So I was okay with it.
I had a problem with it because we spent so much time in the first two seasons with all four of them. And even later on in the third episode and second episode, we kind of get a hint of, Sosuke as well. So we only see Sosuke like a little bit as well. So it like we're not going to really see too much of them, unfortunately. I was really hoping we would get all their previous lives, although Sosuke I didn't really need. Because his storyline felt really wrapped up by the second season.
Well, the way that they had said it was, he hurt his arm and he can't swim. So I was like, well, you're out of the swimming anime then.
Yeah, that's pretty much what I thought too. I was like, okay, that's done.
Wrap it up.
Yeah. We don't need him anymore. I mean, anyway, we were talking earlier, and I think my biggest problem with this first episode is that they too quickly introduced too many freaking characters.
Yeah, I'm interested to see what Preston thinks of
It
this
was like, okay, I was like, okay, so I know I'm jumping in at the third season, but like when the new season typically starts for a show, there's a gradual build up to the plot. Nope. This one's just character. Like, just going through at such a pace that I'm like, I have a list open on my phone of the names right now, and I'm like, okay, which one's this again? And I'm thankfully, like, I really don't like the anime trope of everyone having their own unique hair colors often, but this time I'm like, okay, which one's the green
blue hair? Light blue hair, dark green, light green.
Yeah, like all this, it was just, it was way too much information, way too short a time span. It was just way too rushed in general, just... I get that this is for people who have been following the past two seasons, and as someone who's going into it with a mostly blank slate like I am, it's not designed for that. At the same time, having watched plenty of other shows and other sports anime where new seasons come up, and they don't just dump you with like a whole cast of characters this quickly, it just wasn't done well.
I think its biggest downfall was the fact that by the second season, it felt wrapped up. Like, it felt like everyone had a definitive ending, and they had their own goals to the future. We just didn't need to know what was going on. We knew Haruka was going to still pursue the national stage, but not at like a highly competitive level, because again, his internal philosophy is always he swims free and he swims for fun. And Rin was always that very competitive mindset, and he was going to go the competitive route by going to Australia, training at the Olympic Stadium, training with professional, coaches, and it wrapped up. It felt like it ended, and I think they like when it was created, they banked on the success of the fact. Well, first off, I guess the manga continued, but they banked on the fact that it was a very successful anime when the first two seasons came out, got very high ratings and did really well, and then they're like, okay, let's keep going. Now what do we do? Okay, I guess their stories are all wrapped up. They've moved on. We can't actually keep the core that kept the first two seasons really solid. So now we need to introduce and make you care about a lot of characters all at once. So they did it all in the first episode.
I'm surprised that they didn't start this series off with a recap.
Yeah.
Because I feel like normally that's what would happen. I know I'm missing certain points, like the reason why Haru stopped swimming back then. I don't know why he did it, and I don't feel like they're ever going to say it.
Yeah, because they talk about it enough in the first two seasons.
They keep bringing it up now. And
literally the only reason why he stopped swimming was because he didn't want to be competitive. He didn't want to do anything but, front crawl.
Okay.
Freestyle, right? And he just wanted to swim for fun because that was the time he felt free. And when it started to feel like pressure, he was like, this is not fun anymore. I don't want to do it. And that was the entire first 2 seasons, was getting him from that mindset to it's okay to do both and don't waste your talent kind of thing. Like that was the core of the first 2 seasons. So you're absolutely right. They should have started this season with like at least a recap episode.
Yeah, because that makes this season feel a lot weirder. Because now I'm like, so what's his goal? Like, what am I watching him do now?
Yeah, because he feels much more shallow now, Haru.
Well, yeah, because I didn't know what his point was. Like, Rin, I understood, because Rin was like immediately, I'm going for the grand stage.
Yeah.
And it was very clear. He's training with all these great people so he can do that. But I was like, well, what is Haru doing? He's just in college.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's just in the swim team.
It's fun seeing somebody in college, but I didn't need a whole series for it.
And as like Cole brought to the point, like, it's not his story anymore. It's a role reversal. It's Akuya's story, really.
Yeah.
And it's Rin's story, because we didn't explore Rin as much as we didn't explore Rin through Rin's eyes in the first 2 seasons. So at least that made sense. I would have personally preferred if they spent more time with Rin's story than Akuya's story, because I still feel like Akuya kind of came out of nowhere. Even though there were like hints back to him and Asahi. Oh yeah, beer. All right, beer guy. So there were hints to him earlier on, but they were like so subtle. Like it was really like I mean subtle in the fact that these 2 were people that we swam with. Then one guy left and Rin joined, and now you 2 people that we met in high school in the first 2 seasons. You guys are now part of our team, and you're kind of the replacements.
Yeah.
And that's what the whole 2 first seasons were about. And so they're kind of exploring that idea, and I get why they're doing it, and it's cool. I just don't think it's done well. I feel it's too rushed.
It's annoying because they do show Rin's story in later episodes, but I don't really get what he's doing either. Like, there's nothing to his story from what I've seen. It's just he's training.
Yeah, that's it. That's literally his story, because when they ended it, he already overcame all of his internal struggles.
Yeah.
That's all done.
Well, yeah, and I could see that in his character. I was like, okay, because I know what character he's supposed to be.
Yeah.
And
he's supposed to be he has the spiky teeth.
Exactly.
He's
supposed to be the angsty guy.
Yeah.
But he's not angsty now. He seems so mature, and I was like, okay, he's fine.
Because it's all salt.
Yeah.
That's why I'm like,
that's why it's weird. That's the only problem.
This whole season is weird for that reason.
Yeah.
Because all the ones we spent so long caring about, like 48 episodes caring about, they're done. Now we need new characters.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's as successful for that reason.
Yeah, the stakes are just at an all-time low.
There are stakes, as we find later on. It's just... So let's move into that so we can actually talk about those stakes. Okay, so episode 2, they find out... Haruka and the relay team, they decide to hold a training camp. They go into a flashback sequence where the Iwatomi team from, or the team from the middle school team. They were doing middle school swim team from the pool area. They're at part of they decide during the summer they're going to hold a training camp so they can become better, because they all lost a competition beforehand. So that in this episode we're focusing on Haruka, Makoto, Asahi, and Akuya. All right, so they hold this, and this is where we find the Haruka and Akuya's relationship. So Akuya always looked up to Haruka because Haruka was always just naturally gifted and just swam. So Akuya was always trying to get to his level, and to the point where he would over practice and he kind of almost drowned, and Haruka had to come and save him. They also show a scene at the end where they show the two of them wake up from the gym and they walk out to the pool because they're staying overnight at the school, because apparently this is what happens. I've never seen a school that has done this, but this is apparently something that happens in
Japanese anime school.
Japanese anime, so let's leave it at that. Anyway, so they walk to the pool and they stare up at the stars and they talk about their dreams, and Haruka, of course, is like, I just want to swim free. And Akuya's like, I want to be really good. And we realized that that was super, super, super important. So, cut out of the flashback, Akuya and Haruka encounter each other. I think Haruka and Asahi and Makoto finally track down Akuya, and they encounter him but don't actually approach him. And later on, Haruka does actually get a face-to-face with Akuya. And they talk, but it's really awkward and uncomfortable because there's the distance of time of not seeing each other. But over the years, we discovered that Akuya has built up some resentment to Haruka. Or for some reason, at this point, we don't know.
Yeah.
We do know later, obviously. And I guess out of like some psychic connection, what's his name? Hiroki? Hiyori. Oh wow, guys. Hiyori. Creepy guy. Creepy best friend of Akura. That's all I'm gonna call him. He like psychically figures out that Akuya and Haruko have this guy's have some sort of meeting.
Yeah, that was weird. It felt like he set it up.
He just bolts in.
Yeah, I didn't understand. How did he know that they were gonna run into each other at that moment?
He just had this feeling, because that's what they said. He had this feeling.
It was a feeling. I can see the future. I know all timelines.
And he like
it's not my binoculars.
And he like comes in and he like ushers Akuya away.
Yeah,
He's
and I was like, does Akuya
time.
have like no willpower? He's just like, oh, you're telling me to leave? Okay, bye.
Yeah.
And like that was it. And I was like, you were in the middle of a conversation.
Well, it looked like Akuya didn't actually want to be there, right? So.
But anyway. I felt like Haruka still wanted to say something, and he just like that nobody got to talk as soon as Hiyori showed up. Yeah, I was like, okay, he just ended the whole thing.
Yeah. We also find out in this episode that's actually kind of important, actually really important because it's basically the major plot point, that at the end of their training camp after their last season, or in the middle of their last season, beer guy, Asahi, he leaves to go to America. Or no, he leaves and leaves the team. Haruka and Makoto quit for reasons that we discovered in the first season already, and then that leaves Akuya all by himself. So he ends up going to America and just doesn't tell anyone that he's just leaving because he felt alone and whatever. And so that's where we kind of get the hint that Hiyori's kind of there to pick up the pieces. We don't know why specifically yet, although we do learn it later on in the third episode. And yeah, so that's where we end. And it's weird. It felt really forced.
Yeah, a big Rin replacement.
Yeah, a big Rin replacement. It's the same theme of like forming really close friendships, and then the loss you feel when you're regular seeing the person, and the time that you spent is no longer on the same level as you had before, and it just felt really forced to me. Just the way it was written, the way it was set up. And it just didn't. I didn't care. I really didn't care about Akuya.
Not having all the Rin scenes, like having seen those, that didn't feel as forced for me. It was more like, okay, well, that's their relationship. Yeah. But I would have preferred if Hiyori wasn't involved in all that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. If it was just these two trying to like sort of mend this broken friendship, I would have probably been more okay with that.
He stops every interaction and every form of progress.
Yeah, and to the point that it doesn't make sense, where he like goes in and gives him his clothes in advance, and he's like, "Let's sneak out the back," and I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. Why would?
I knew those boys were coming for you.
Yeah, like why would nobody be like, "Hey, why are you making me do this right now?" He's just like, "Oh well, you're my friend. I guess I'll go." And I'm like, this feels weird.
Yeah.
All of Hiyori's interactions feel a little forced.
We do find out in the third episode, and I'm just going to jump ahead a little to it, just to their section, that when Akuya left for America, that's where he met Hiyori in the first place. And I guess Hiyori was there to officially like become a new friend, build a new relationship through swimming, and became his best friend, and was there when he was going through all his hardest times. And now I think Hiyori is just like super overprotective of him. I mean, it's obvious that's what his role is, but it doesn't come off as like actually protective.
It comes off as evil.
It just comes as creepy. Yeah. It's like, I think there's a little jealousy. He's afraid, like he knows how much they all meant to him back then, and he's afraid of them rekindling it. But again, this is something we saw in the first and second season with Rin.
That feels like it would have been a high school arc.
Yeah.
That doesn't feel like a college arc.
It doesn't feel like a college arc.
Well, no, because you see what happens is that eventually people have to graduate, But anime is just like, what college anime is there, really? Like, so we just have to take the same plots
They just use
from
the high school
stuff and
Yeah.
just apply it to college because we can't actually have any college-age plots.
Yeah, it doesn't.
Yeah, I don't know. That's the only part that feels weird
Yeah.
and like really forced to me.
Yeah.
Other than that,
But for that reason, I'm really glad we're going to be talking about your anime next week. And
Oh,
we'll
yeah.
talk about that.
Oh,
at the
because we're
after
talking
this.
about college-age stuff.
We're going to talk about college age stuff.
We'll
It
get to
feels
that
good.
later.
So I sorry, Remington, go ahead.
yeah, I don't know. It's that's the only real part of the show that throws it all off for me.
Mm-hmm.
That whole forced like battle between Yori and Haruka. I'm like, I don't see it. Why?
Yeah.
Like, why could they not all just sit down and have a conversation about this?
Yeah, it just felt really, I don't know, boring.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, it feels like this should be a movie, not a series.
I feel-
Because it feels like they took such a small plot hole of, hey, we've hinted at these characters. How do we expand it into an entire, 12 to 24 episode series?
Yeah.
And yeah, I agree with you. And it's just, I don't know. There's too many of them for me to actually care about. That's the other problem.
And especially because they spent 2 episodes saying, I want to talk to Ikuya.
Yeah.
And then not being able to get to him. And it's like, oh, we
But
know
like-
where his school is.
but
we know
also-
where he is.
Yeah, and then they chicken out 3 times.
Yeah, and
and I mean, I get that's cool, but again, that's very high school. That's not a
Well, that's why I
university.
thought, I was like, Mama Makoto, he's like, hey, don't worry, he's fine, he's not mad, just talk to him. And he's the only one who seems to be handling this rationally. It's like, oh, what school does he go to? I'll call the school. He calls the school, finds out where Ikuya is. Then he's like, we can talk to him whenever we're ready. And everybody's like, no, I can't yet. He might be mad. I'm like, come
That's
on.
a high school thing.
Yeah.
That's so
Yeah.
high school. But Makoto, see, here's the other thing. I'd love to say that was an actual showing growth in Makoto's character, but that was Makoto's character right from the start.
Yeah, when
Yeah.
you
So
were
we
a
had
kid-
no
seems-
growth.
That's
No.
That's weird. That's really weird.
All right, let's just finish off episode 3, which is what it's called something.
Going down.
It's called
Yeah,
something.
it's called something.
We
First
going down
swim
to
in another.
Australia.
Yeah. Now, if you go ahead.
I'm
Down in
Same with the
Australia.
cross-
Australia, where the dingoes and wallabies live.
Yeah, Australia.
Where they
Right where the
swim.
criminals were, eh?
Where they swim and there's no oxygen deprivation and
So-
no one drowns.
You guys,
Unlike what seems to happen in America and Japan all the time. But anyway.
Oh, yes, mate.
I didn't watch this episode in Japanese. I watched it in English, and everyone has an intensely bad Australian accent, and it is glorious.
But it wasn't as bad as mine. I win.
No, it
Funimation
actually was
approved. Preston does it.
It was amazing.
Just ship me the text. I'm available.
All right. So anyway, Rin's doing good. He's training with the top coach, and who Rin's sister, who coached the Iwatomi high school swim team, loves muscles, and that's
Yeah.
a big thing. Anyway, so he's swimming, he's training, and all of a sudden this random Japanese guy shows up out of nowhere, who we later find out is Akuya's brother. He shows up and he wants to train with Rin's coach, and Rin's coach is like, your muscles are wrong, I don't want to train with you. And so
The coach's name is Mikhail.
Yeah.
Mikhail. Yeah, so Mikhail sasses him off and says he doesn't want to deal with him. And it's a metaphor for his type of personality.
Yeah.
You see, he doesn't really care about the muscles. He cares about the person inside him.
The person inside him.
I can see the little smurf in you.
I see the little man controlling you around. Just moving your legs.
Is that a voice actor I see in your head?
Anyway, so his name is Natsumi. Sorry, not Natsumi. It's called. There's so many. No, it's Natsuya. I was really close. His name is Natsuya. He's Ikuya's brother, which we find out later on. Anyway, decides he's gonna be Rin's best friend, and he's like, "Come out with me and have dinner." And they go out and they start talking and drinking. Well, Natsuya starts drinking, and Rin's like, "You're a trainer." He's like, "Yeah, no, man. I just go around and compete in paid competitions and take that money, and I go to another country." And I'm like, "Yeah." And so that's basically what happens there. And we find out from him about what happened with Akuya, and sort of he alludes to it, but he never actually explicitly says Akuya's pissed off at your friends because they all ditched him. He does say he felt alone, and when he went to America, this is where we find it about Hiyori.
He's also like, I don't hate them.
I don't hate them. He's like, I don't care. But I felt
Ditch your
bad.
friends. You want money?
Yeah.
I've got money. I'll give him money.
So this is where we discover that Rin has now seen another way of seeing swimming, but is not quite sure how he feels about it yet. He immediately poo-poos it, and then like later on starts thinking about it.
Poo-poos it?
Poo-poos.
I poo-poo that money. I don't want it. This form of swimming's poo-poo.
Poo-poos
He
it.
poo-poos it.
I'm sorry, I have to. It's just the way that anybody in this series deals with anything they don't like. It's like, okay, I guess no. And then that's literally it. And there's no, like, the conflict is so internal and emo. It's just like,
I still can't. It's just, I'm looking at Rin. It's like, okay, ripped bod, shark teeth. The form of swimming is poo-poo. It's just like, what?
You took off your glasses to do
You
that
broke
too.
me. You broke me.
did I make you like it yet? And yeah, that's basically the third episode. I don't think there's anything other substantial that we haven't talked about there. So
Not
yeah.
really.
Okay, so final thoughts on this? Or anything else you want to touch on?
For a series about water, it's quite shallow.
So it's funny, because
Check me now.
in the most
Get
shallow
out.
way, though, I like it.
yeah,
Because, one, it's a very pretty looking series.
it's really pretty.
It looks really nice.
The like
looks
even
good.
And
the
the
character-
water is still looking immaculate as
That
it
water
did.
texture.
Yeah, that's that water.
I still don't like that it opens up. Every season opens up with water,
Yeah.
and then he goes in this little monologue about water.
And swimming free.
I also don't like when they're swimming and then it just shows their faces to show that, like, what they're thinking while they're racing the other person.
Well, I mean, what else
I
are
don't
they
like
going to
that.
show?
Yeah, I know.
What are they going to show? Like because when you're swimming, guys, when you're swimming, it's a whole lot of. It's really gross. You don't want to see that.
I'm glad our listeners don't have to
Yeah.
either.
Do you want to tell Preston?
But no, I realized with this series, I just like the characters interacting.
Yeah.
Like it's just fun. It's like
Yeah.
Lisa said, it's not fan servicey. It's just friendship, and that was nice.
It's
I like
just
that.
friendship, but Cole, even though that joke sucked, it is very shallow.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
part of the reason why I think I turned away from Free back when I started watching it years ago. And it's the same reason why I don't really like it now. It's because it's all very surface level. And yeah, it has friendship and whatnot, and there's not heavy fan service, but it's just so shallow by itself that I really...
Well, yeah, of
I'm
course.
gonna-
I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not gonna watch this. Like, this is not a series I'm gonna watch.
I'm
There.
going to argue the shallowness of the friendship only because it is. Because it feels like it is because of how slow all the development is that happens. There is progress made in the relationships and there is growth, and it takes a long time to get there, and then it's wrapped up way too quickly. So it feels like it is a shallow thing, but they actually do tackle like.
Well,
bigger
yeah, I
issues.
figured the shallowness came from these guys have been friends for 2 other seasons.
Yeah.
That's what I figured the shallowness was. I was like, oh, well, what are you gonna get to know this person now? Like, you already know him. You've known him for all your high school life or whatever.
Yeah.
So I'm fine with it. I was just like, oh, they're drinking
Well,
beer together. That's nice.
It will get there. It'll just take 2 seasons to get there.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
Yeah.
And so now we have all these new characters. It's not going to be wrapped up in this season.
No.
If they do, it's going to be very extremely shallow, as you're saying.
I imagine by the end of it, they'll just start talking again. Like,
Yeah.
that'll
That's
be the
really
end of it.
what's going to happen.
And then there'll be
It'll
another
breakthrough.
season, and then by the end of that season, they'll be friends.
Not
Yeah.
face to face, but Facebook, yeah.
Yeah.
Facebook, yeah.
Next season.
They'll
fourth
nudge
season
each other.
They'll
They'll-
nudge each
They'll
other.
They'll
nudge each
nod
other.
as they pass.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, so that was that. So now let's move on to Hanebado. Yay!
Yeah.
Hanebado.
Hanebado.
Much... Oh, we're going to get into this in a little bit. But
The darker of the two, with less. There's a lot darker.
darker of the two, but whereas Free is really shallow, Hanebado's got a lot of depth to it.
It's got
Okay.
a lot of depth to it.
I'm willing to
Okay. Yeah, I'm willing to listen to your
Yeah.
points.
It's about 2 broken badminton players. That's basically what this story is about. It's a story about Ayano Hanasaki, who doesn't want to play it at all. We know that she's a savant, like incredibly good badminton player.
Since she
Genius.
was 2.
Yeah, she's a prodigy essentially, and she doesn't want to ever play it again. She doesn't want to be anything associated with badminton. And then we also have Nagisa Aragaki, who spends every waking moment focusing on badminton and refuses to tolerate anyone who doesn't have her level of dedication.
She's not the natural prodigy, but she just works hard with a very strong work ethic to make up for it.
Yeah. So she, to the point where she's alienated everyone on her team, forcing a lot of team members to kind of quit because they just can't deal with her nonsense anymore. They don't want to pull up with her crap. So, they basically, the whole story is them overcoming their brokenness. I'm thinking that's so far where this direction is kind of going with. So we start with episode 1, where we learn that Arigaki Nagisa has lost the junior nationals. She scored nothing, and then she fell into a slump, and she's been taking it on her teammates since, forcing a number of the students to just quit, just be over her. And then a new student, halfway through the year, we get Ayano, who joins the...
Halfway through the year? No, it's the beginning of the year.
It's like
the next year.
Yeah. It's the start of the
following
high school
year
year.
from the thing. She, Ayano joins the club forcibly by her best friend. And all of a sudden, naturally is able to just do whatever, and that makes Nagisa pretty irritated. And that's pretty much... That's the general...
That's a general broad overview of the first episode. I love the first episode.
Yeah.
I particularly love the intro sequence of Nagisa facing who we find out later is Ayano. In the Ayano was in middle school at the time. Nagisa, I believe, was in high school first year at nationals tournament, and just getting completely shut down because I love the dichotomy between the two of them of how they both say, why do I play badminton? Nagisa because she just got her ass beat, horribly. Yeah. And Ayano because she's just... there's no enjoyment in it for her. Yeah. Due to things that we find out in later episodes. I like both of them as main characters a lot.
I do too. I like that
they're very interesting. I find them really compelling. They're likable in their own ways.
I didn't like Ayano in the first episode because I just felt her reason for not playing was I was afraid it was going to be really shallow. I thought it's just some stupid thing would have happened in her life, which we find out later. No, that is not at all the case.
I just liked her personality in the first episode.
She's
so I
cute.
attached to her. And I liked Nagisa because I liked her character overall, her work ethic, and I liked the consequences of that when she took it too far against her teammates. But I understood where she was coming from in it, and I knew the source of her, the reason why she's lashing out.
Yeah. I think we're gonna I want to find more depth to where that competitive streak came from. I get the understanding of always trying to better yourself and be better and losing, how hard it was, but there's a reason why it was so hard for her to lose at all. So that's kind of I get this. I think it has a lot to do with her struggle, but it was really interesting. Anyway, what do you think, Cole?
Oh, this.
Oh, a side note, before you begin, and I'm sorry I'm interrupting, but I think we can all agree that this show is absolutely gorgeous.
Oh, yeah!
For its animation.
We
were talking about how great Free looked. I think this is far better, the way that the people move, the way that the backgrounds look, how it all ties together. There's a lot going on, and the animation seems fluid.
Yeah. Oh, I want to say one more thing, that my biggest pet peeve that has almost turned me off of the series, and... doesn't have to because I'll just watch it in Japanese, but in the English dub. And I've watched in the Japanese. The Japanese is fine because I can't notice it as well. But in the English dub, they don't say badminton; they say bamin. and it drives me nuts.
No, because they
I
say
did this yesterday, and you almost wanted to punch me.
It's badminton. Like, it's not even hard. It's like
that's
three continents.
just an English dub problem. Because I'm pretty sure they say badminton in the Japanese version.
No, they don't.
Badminton.
Yeah, they say something like
Yeah.
that.
But
So I don't
that's
care.
better than badminton.
Badminton.
Batman, I don't know what that is.
Badminton. I don't know what that is. It drives
No,
me
they
nuts.
say badminton.
It turned me off at first.
That is really
And then I
funny.
went to the Japanese version. I'm like, okay, at least I can ignore that. That's
Yeah,
fine.
at least they say
Yeah.
like the full name.
Yeah.
So I'm probably going to butcher it a couple times. I apologize in advance. It's just my habit.
But anyway, sorry, Cole, go ahead.
Yeah, so this just, it's not the kind of sports anime I enjoy. Like, my favorites have always been, like, Eye Shield 21, Hajime no Ippo, where there's always, like, the main character is, like, a positive force and such, even, like, something like Haikyuu. And they're overcoming things, like these characters are. They're overcoming their brokenness, but with, like, the ones that I enjoy, it's just that they usually have just a positive outlook on everything, and these characters are trying to regain that. So to lose that out at the beginning, I don't know, just really just loses momentum for me for what I like in sports anime.
I think that's what makes it compelling for me, because too much sports anime is, as you described, like there's that positive force, and this one just is like, well, no, they're rediscovering their passion for it. Like we find out in episode 2, like Nagisa gets her like love of it back in probably my favorite shot of the season so far for any anime, because I'll get into that in episode 2. It's something I really like about it. But yeah, I like how it upends the traditional status of like you have a positive outlook, you're going to work hard and do that, and I like this version's way of like we're regaining that positive outlook and we're reminding ourselves why we fall in love with things in the first place, because not everything is like, there are things that I like and like I'm passionate for, but there are times where I just like absolutely hate doing it.
Yeah.
And like I feel miserable, I get in a slump when I write or when I go out and do other things. And
It's that plateau.
and it's something that I relate to in seeing these guys and seeing these girls like work through that.
I think that's why I like it too. I like the fact that okay, so unlike Free, we do see that there is harsh internal
No one
struggles
drowns
to have.
here.
No one's drowning. All right, so we have the harsh internal struggle, whereas this one, I think it's more amplified, and so that the growth feels a lot more like you're seeing the growth a lot more visually and viscerally as it goes on. Whereas like in most typical sports animes where we have that positive outlook that we start with the one character who's negative, having two main characters that are extremely in bad places about it and at the bottom instead of like they're at rock bottom at this point instead of later on in the series where they get to that point, they're here. And watching that growth, it's getting right into the meat of the whole thing. And I like that that's showing off. Alrighty. Okay, so
Remington?
I will say that it's very well animated.
Okay.
Some of the scenes are extremely well directed. It's especially surprising considering this is the same studio that brought us Berserk. Yeah. So that is
I actually could
Which
detect
one?
like
the one that you
The two
Yes.
FPS?
yes the one that was just screenshots.
yeah, but
But yeah, so that's impressive.
I
to
actually
me.
couldn't detect a lot of CGI while watching it though.
No.
Funny enough.
No.
Yeah.
They did a very good job. This is much more their element. My problem with this, and it goes throughout the whole series, which I'll get into by the end of it, but it's kind of just the rate in which we get to see these characters is a little too fast for me.
Really?
Because it focuses only on these two, and I get that they're depressed, but then they kind of get over it really quick. It's
by the
there-
third
it
episode
seems like-
are you talking about?
yeah, like it feels like, because my big problem with this is that I went and read the manga after. After I started watching this, I read the manga and they are completely different.
Really?
Yeah, they feel like completely different series. Because the manga takes so much more time with the entire team. So when you get into those things that the reason why these characters are broken, it feels like, wow, okay, I've seen this character being broken for a while in the background, and I wanted to know why, and here's why. And then they kind of get over it. And then it doesn't feel so negative, because it's not just focusing on those two characters.
I guess, but you also have to understand, like, the manga has a luxury of taking that time, right? Whereas the anime won't. They had to pick and choose their battles and do one well.
And that's my overall problem.
With anime?
This anime exists. This anime existing is my overall problem. No, but this anime existing right now is my problem. Because there are only like 60 chapters of this anime, or this manga. And they are telling what is obviously a much longer story. But this anime is only 13 episodes. And it's because they've diverged so far already, they're not going to do another season. This is a completely different story. And that's what kind of bugs me.
So, like, for episode 1, how many chapters did it cover? Or skip?
That's the thing. It feels completely different. It's not even they skipped a chapter. It's like they did the chapter completely differently.
Isn't that a good thing in a sense, though? And from my point of view, it could be both good and bad. I like the show, so maybe it's... I haven't read the manga, so I'm arguing it's good. But because it's making the departures from it, because it's going to another medium, like, isn't it adapting it for somewhere else? Because if what you're saying is, like, we see their hard times, like their depression, their low moments for so long, wouldn't that get tiring after a while? Like, if it had gone... Like, if Nagisa's, slump had gone on for like 6 or 7 episodes, I would have been...
Well, that's the thing,
tired.
though. The manga doesn't focus on Nagisa or Ayana.
It focuses on the team.
It focuses on everyone, yeah. It focuses on a bunch of different characters at once. So you're not just seeing their depression.
I guess, and I get that, that's fine, but I guess if you're only going to... Okay, so say they were only signed on for 13 episodes, and that's basically how the whole show would have been made, right? If they knew that from the start, then they had to pick and choose. And I like the direction of picking one thing to focus on instead of falling into the free problem that we're having with the season and focusing on too many things and having to rush everything in that set amount of time that they have.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. I agree. The decision that they made is probably the best one. But if they had just waited a year and then made this anime, it could have been an entirely different series. And that's kind of my problem, because I saw what it could have been, and it's different, and I like that version better.
Fair enough.
So, I don't know. For me, this is just... It's like, I'll take it, I guess.
Yeah.
But...
We also, in this first episode, we are introduced to the fact that they get a brand new coach to join the team.
Taro.
Yeah. The
Taro.
Olympic...
Who starts off as like, oh, this is a creepy, like, coach
from
thing.
Musume.
Like a Musume type thing. But
Grabs
then I'm
lives.
very, very thankful that just goes out the window, like, near immediately.
Yeah.
As the guy just really is passionate about badminton, and it's just, like, subverting your expectations of, you thought he was staring at girls? No, he's staring at, like, people playing tennis so he could recruit badminton. And he's really passionate about that. And I'm very glad they didn't go the whole pervy coach route.
Yeah, I'm really happy. And we learned that in episode 2, and where we get Aragaki, or Sir Nagisa's real, like, animosity towards Ayano happens when the coach...
Should we go into episode 2 then?
We're in episode 2.
Oh, we
We're
are.
talking about episode 2, which is meets the best after a workout, which is my favorite character of the entire series. And I'm glad they don't spend a lot of time with her, because she's so freaking superficial that she's just perfect with the tiny little... Like, she's like a throw pillow. You just put her out, you don't want 20 of them. You just want one little throw pillow, and she's great.
I did like the convenience store aspect, like that motive going through the episodes of like the 3 different times, like, hey, rule of 3 of them going outside the convenience store getting food, and then like different things happening as a result of the plot in the badminton club.
Yeah,
which is a nice structure.
It's that home base theory, which I really think is cool, which I've always been a big fan of. But anyway, what was her name? Connie? No, she wasn't Connie. That's somebody else.
Yuabina.
What?
Yuabina, like the blonde girl?
Yeah, the blonde girl.
Yeah,
Yuabina? Okay. Guys, you know you're supposed to carry me on names, right? That's your job.
I've been doing my best.
Cole's
here.
got me.
I know most of the characters in this show.
I like to watch the struggle.
Blonde girl who likes
Let some people suffer. Monster.
I'll make you suffer with worse anime my next turn. Anyway, so when what was the coach's name?
Kentaro.
Akitaro?
Kentaro.
Whatever, Kentaro. When Kentaro starts playing with Ayano, and like it's it looks like he's
That's
given
episode-
he looks like typical coaching there, where they're playing together. It's like good rapport, and he kind of like, to Nagisa is like, you're gonna lose, so don't play with me right now. You need to go do this. You got to figure this out. And he finally does like let her play with him. And when what?
No, sorry, but keep going. But this is leading into like my favorite shot of the show. So
Okay, so he finally lets her play with him, and he like decimates her.
Yeah.
And he's like, "You could have done this. You could have beat me really easily, but you're holding yourself back, and that's that." And that was her moment, realizing that he wasn't like playing favorites. He was waiting for her to change her attitude. But she wasn't ready to do that, and even after that point, she wasn't ready to do that. And I love the fact that there was no growth, instant growth, and it was so cool.
he was not like. He used different methods of coaching for different people, and I'm like, yeah, you're a good coach.
Yes!
You are not a pervert. You are really cool. I like you. Yeah.
I like that that's a requirement. You are not a pervert.
You're not.
Yes.
So how many shows? Well, Uma Musume has the dumb, like, which we watched last season. Uma Musume has a coach who's like, yes, I'm feeling your legs. And, like, continually, like, comments on it. It's just the most annoying thing. And also, he's not just named Coach, which is really nice. But my favorite shot of the show so far is in episode 2, and it's during that back and forth with Nagisa and Kentaro, where Nagisa is like just trying to set up a smash, and she's way too focused and overthinking on what she's doing, and Kentaro's just like, "Yep, you're not doing it. You're making mistakes. You're sloppy." And he's just definitely doing it.
Yeah.
And then he does a drop shot after one point, like after she tries for her like big smash, which is her like secret trick, really. He just does a drop shot, and like he doesn't even watch it as it like goes over net. He just turns around and walks away. It's like, this is why you're not good. And it's like so well animated, that walk away, that I was watching on my couch. I was like, oh god, oh shit, that's I was like, oh yes. It just got so excited, like watching it. Like and it was the moment where I realized, like, oh man, I love how this show's not cheap and it's animated well.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was really cool. And I mean I started getting more into it after that part, like exactly what you said, the fact that the coach had different teaching styles, and I was like, we're not going to treat their problem as the same problem through this whole anime, and I'm going to love that because we're actually going to get into something, and it's going to be we're going to really explore. And I thought that was cool. What do you think, Cole?
Okay, Cole's episode 2.
Or Colin Remington, what did you think?
Yeah.
I actually liked episode 2. That specific moment of teaching, the way he taught her, was really cool.
Yeah.
That was probably the best part. And that was definitely where I felt like, oh, I'm getting into the series a bit more. Mm-hmm. Just because before that, it was kind of dull for me. But up till that, it got me there. That was cool.
Yeah. Also, I should get into the meat is the best stuff to work out. So our favorite character her big thing was after every practice she'd go to the convenience store, and that's where we had that home base for training to L3 where she'd buy meat.
This is only just in one episode too.
It's only one,
which I really really like.
Yeah, and she does it after every practice. She likes meat, and she's really perky, and she doesn't even care that like it's really obvious that there's two really strong players, and they're getting a lot of the attention.
She's just really enjoying herself and her time there.
She just wants to be there. She just wants to have fun and just play badminton, and they're letting her do that, and she's cool with it. And eating meat, which is cool because I like
and
meat
people
too.
stealing the food from her in that final shot.
That was great.
Yeah.
I felt bad for her though. I would like stab her.
I was like,
with that
no,
stick.
she paid like 500. She must have paid like 400, 500 yen for that, and they're just coming in and like eating the meat.
I would have stabbed them.
Hopefully she has more change.
I would have. You take my meat off my stick, I will stab you. Don't come between
You heard
the
it.
girls
She's
and
Yaka's
me.
the least of
I was gonna say, I'm like, let's remember that criminals on the list of Lisa's jobs. Oh my god.
Wow, jeez. She will mess you up.
What were you guys saying?
So episode 2 for me, I'm beginning to think that the reason why, episode 2 was definitely the best of the 3 for me. It definitely had the best parts, and I definitely love Kentaro. I think he's the best character in this show for me, because he's both a mix of realist, and he is that positive force that I was missing from episode 1, where he's identifying your flaws and Well,
Mike just dropped,
he
literally.
just identified my flaws. It's coming to attack me.
We're not editing that out. It's just staying in, just so you know.
Yeah.
Okay.
So he's identifying their flaws, and then he's teaching them in like a really practical way, in a way that is personal to each of them to tackle their problems. I thought that was really cool. Like everyone else is praising. I'm beginning to think the reason why I'm not like as big into this series, especially the first 3 episodes, was because I watched this last week when originally it was Remington's pick. And so I had to binge watch Hurricane Receive and then immediately follow it with this. And I'm like, I just went from like super cutesy happy to depressing, I don't want to live anymore. Yeah, I don't feel it. So I think it was just my mood at the time. I actually really want to revisit it now because everyone is so animated with how like you really like the scenes and the characters and how they develop. And I'm like, maybe I didn't give it the fair shot it deserved.
I gotta qualify this. The only reason why I picked it this week is because we didn't do it last week. All right, and I had to and upon at the time of watching, I didn't really care about it because I'm in a bad mood from this season. Literally nothing I'm turning on, even if it's something I know I'll like or I want to continue with, I don't care about it too much. When I thought about this one and I'm like, I went back to watch it again and I'm like, okay. I like it's got more depth than I gave it credit to. I had to give it a second thinking before I actually cared about wanting to watch it. So I totally get where you're coming from. A second thinking.
A second thing.
A second
Sorry,
thinking.
I had to put that out.
A second thing.
Yeah.
She thought twice.
Guys, it was a hard day.
That's poo-poo.
Yeah. I think
You've never heard the term to poo-poo something?
No.
Oh my god, you guys are so young.
so. Yeah, I would say that watching certain shows, like, I would say that if you had to watch Hurricane Receive and immediately follow it up with this, maybe for different reasons, I would have disliked this generally because Hurricane Receive would have left a bad taste in my mouth.
It probably was that.
Yeah, because on the opposite, like, it's another sports anime focused on girls, like the second one, like the other one this season. However, unlike this one, unlike Hanebado, Hurricane Receive is very much the problem is introduced in an episode and it is solved in the episode, and also I'm hyper all the time, guys. Let's get up, like let's do this, and also the complete seriousness. I really like Hanebado's like, no, like this is like a smash shot, this is a drop shot, this is a cross shot, and they're not really saying it's like a special tackle or whatever. It's just a thing you do in badminton.
A tick.
It's a pokey pokey. And I'm very glad they're not doing that.
I'm so happy they're using actual terms.
Yeah, it's like, drop shot, cross camera, those are actual
Did you guys all
terms.
play badminton in high school?
Yeah.
Yes.
I like
Part of
badminton.
the curriculum.
I like
Had
badminton.
no choice.
Yeah.
I like playing in my backyard. I was good at it. It was fun.
So when did you go pro, Lisa?
Did I tell you about the time I was on a swim team, by the way?
You told us about snorkeling.
I'm just combining Lisa's backstories now. It's like, she was in the underground badminton.
She just lived 1,000 lives.
on the dangerous underground badminton circuit.
Where have you lost?
We kicked out anyone that said badminton.
That was the first rule.
First
You
rule
said
of badminton.
you're out.
You call it badminton.
Yeah, because then Lisa Muir comes out, just starts whacking you.
Are there multiple Lisas?
Yes.
There's so many Lisas. Oh man. Okay, I gotta move on to episode 3 because we are going really long today, but that's okay because this is a lot to talk about. Alright, so she was perfect. This is where we learn Ayano's backstory. She loved playing badminton with her mom. Her mom was super competitive. And then another character who is introduced, who shows up at the high school to challenge Ayano, is this, at the end of the second episode, is this terrible pink-haired girl whose name is...
Kaoruku Surigaya.
Yeah, so she shows up.
Cow.
And she has this, like, hard-on hate for Ayano, and her, like, she's, I'm the best, and she's, like, so two-dimensionally bad guy character that I hate her. I know I'm supposed to hate her, but I hate her for totally different reasons than they want me to hate her, because she's just so badly written. We find out that she was sick before their big match in elementary school. She tied her up, captured her, and coughed on her to make sure she was sick for that competition, which Ayano did of course lose, and her mother walked out. And now that's why Ayano hates badminton. So she decided to just quit and just left practice after she was flashback to high school, that Pink-haired girl.
Karyuku.
Thank you.
Karyuko.
Thank you. Kayuko challenged her.
Kaoruko.
Karuko. I'm not saying it. Can you guys just say it? Karuko.
Insert pink hair girl.
Pink-haired girl challenges her, and then they fight. And Ayano loses because her heart's just not into this, and she doesn't want nothing to do with it because she's still so traumatized, understandably, from the biological warfare inflicted on her prior to this.
Well, I would also say,
mom thing,
and also like the mom thing's probably the bigger one of the abusive mother who left her because she was sick.
Tied up and coughed on.
Yeah, she got sick, and then
get good.
Mom leaves. There's some abusive parenting right there.
There's some, and I love that it's not like just talked about. They show it.
Yeah.
It's a type of emotional abuse they don't really tackle a lot of in anime appropriately.
Yeah.
Like they demonstrate that neglect and like emotional
and it ties
abuse is a real thing.
And it ties into with her comments that she's been practicing since her mother's been pushing this from an exceptionally young age.
Yeah.
Yeah, you see her lose one match, and you decide
just walk out. Yeah, it's horrible.
It's just because the shot is she's in bed, she's clearly got a fever, she's really sick, she's almost delirious. Mom just looks at her and just turns her back, slams the door, and we never see her again, kind of thing. And it's just so devastating in just 3 seconds worth of a shot. It's devastating.
And I like how the show handles the it's maturely handling the issue, not just the previous issues of the burnout and whatever, but also child abuse, practically child neglect.
They're showing the realistic depiction of the ramifications that this can happen.
And they are not holding back. It's this is really horrible.
Yeah.
It just screws with Ayano's mind so much.
Yeah.
That it's
she can't even
sympathy. Just want to reach out and give her a hug. It's everything's gonna be okay. Your mom's horrible.
But luckily her best friend is there to pick up the pace, and the rest of the club comes to find her when they realize she storms out. And her and Nagisa kind of have it a little bit out, and then Nagisa's they just start playing.
Yeah.
And they find joy in just the moment of playing for the sake of just playing. There's no competition, they're not trying to beat each other, they're just trying to keep it up.
Yeah, they even have a regular net.
Yeah.
It's just playing in a park.
We're going to play, you need to play.
Yeah.
We've already witnessed the fact that Nagisa's realized she's kind of a dick. And so she's trying to change. We can see she's trying to change. Not great, but she's trying to change. And it's just the fact that we've seen not instant fixes for anything in this whole thing was what made that episode so poignant, and why that's when I started really caring about this one for real. But any final thoughts on this one before
I gotta give it another look.
Yeah,
I gotta look back at it again. I think Haruka Receive really hurt Hanebado. I can't believe I have to say that, but yeah.
Now that you say that, I just want to try combinations of good and bad anime where we watch something bad and immediately follow up with something good, or vice versa, to see if your opinions change. It's how not to summon the Demon Lord immediately followed by Grand Blue Dream.
No, start with Berserk and follow up with anything.
No, start with Berserk and then follow up with Berserk. What combination? Which version of Berserk? Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
2016 to 2017? 2017's a lot bad now.
2016 to the 90s version.
I recommend this one as a binge watch. Wait till the whole season's out.
We're on episode 8 or 9 right now.
Yeah. I'm going to wait till it's all out and I'm going to start again.
Unfortunately, I think I'm going to keep watching this episode by episode because I really like it.
Yeah.
And it's one of the few shows that I'm watching week by week, and I don't have enough of those this season for obvious reasons.
But lucky for us, before we go to that, lucky for us, we do have a reason to keep watching the season. But Remington, do you have a final thought about this one before we move on?
Like I said, I like it. It just doesn't hit me as hard as it hit you guys. Just I get it. I understand all of the good points to the series. I just feel like there could have been more.
Yeah.
And that's all it is for me.
Fair enough. So, Preston, next week's your week.
Yep, it's my week. Finally.
You claimed this stuff early on.
I claimed this stuff way early on, like months ago. I knew what my first week would be.
So what are we watching?
We're going to be watching the greatest anime of the summer season, Grand Blue Dreaming.
Woo!
And we're also going to be watching, straight from the pages of Shonen Jump, Yuna and the Haunted Hot Springs.
Okay.
Which is better than I thought it was going to be, so I'm kind of
It's
excited
interesting.
to talk about
I'm excited to
Yeah.
hear what your guys' thoughts on it. We'll get into it next week. We'll get
It's
into
gonna be
it
an
next
interesting week.
It'll be interesting.
All right, guys. Just before we end. We're gonna wrap up with our recommendations. So, have any of you guys seen Hayuka?
No. What is this?
Okay, so Hayuka is it's a great mystery, romance, high school anime where our main character Hiroto, he goes through life trying to take the easiest possible route out, and his main philosophy is the least amount of energy that one can expend throughout his life. So he just coasts through everything he does, and just because he is brilliant at critical thinking and problem solving, he can always find the easiest solution to just maintain and be as he is. But one day he meets up with Eru, a young girl who's like just really, really cute and really, really inquisitive and just wants to know about everything. And they decide to join a classic lit club, which Hiroto's sister suggested he does. And instead of actually studying literature, what they do is they go around and find like all the mysteries that are going on in the school and try to solve them. And it turns out that there's a lot of like real mysteries that people have been trying to solve that the original classic lit club, as we find out later on, was also trying to solve. And it's just really cute because they have an adorable little dynamic where she's constantly pushing him along and he's just kind of like going with it because it's just easier than saying no. And it's just a really cute depiction of high school life with a nice realistic of the kind of high school mysteries that you would try to solve, like who is that person in that picture, and why did this day close? Why did the school close down this day on this? So
it's not supernatural.
There's nothing supernatural.
There's no.
Or some of them look supernatural, but it turns out it's Scooby-Doo style.
It's not even Scooby-Doo style. It's just like it's literally like you know when you guys were in high school and you heard you went to high school.
I was born at the age of 25 with this knowledge of anime in me.
When you guys were in high school or in like you went to a new school of some sort, there's always like the rumor of something that had happened at your school kind of thing, right? It's literally those kind of mysteries that they're trying to solve.
That sounds fun.
It's a cute, fun anime that you could easily just sit down and binge one Sunday afternoon. And it's just, the characters are well written. They're really interesting. The mysteries are like not convoluted. Like, they give you all the tools to figure it out without like randomly introducing some new clues at the end and make the guy seem unnaturally genius. No, he's just honestly just put the clues together in a way that other people didn't think about doing it. And he's fallible, as we find out, so it's totally fine. So it's a bit of that. I highly recommend that. You can find it on Funimation and Crunchyroll and download it. It's a little bit older. I don't remember how old it is exactly. But I really, really enjoyed it, and I highly, highly, highly recommend to you. And it was a novel and a manga.
Wow.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And a movie series at this
Pardon?
point. And a movie series at this point. Just to round out the 4.
Yeah, was Legendary co-producing it?
Yeah. To get adapted into a rom-com in the West.
Pretty much.
Failed.
Yeah, pretty
Super
much.
Troopers 4.
Is there a video game? A mobile game? Gotcha.
There's a card game. It's a CCG. And, yeah. So totally recommend. No, honestly, I'm joking, but I totally recommend it. It looks really pretty. It's what I like about it. The visual style is they do these very muted colors to the whole thing, so it almost feels like a sepia tone without actually being that, and it feels almost like nostalgic and cute, and it brings you back to your high school days. Like, oh yeah, I remember those mysteries. What would happen if we actually pursued them? It's really cute. So
That sounds good.
That's my recommendation.
Good recommendation.
Yeah, you should all watch it right now.
Right this second.
Yeah, but we've gone a little long. So we're gonna go watch it right now. So that's it. I'm gonna wrap up. That was a long anime podcast today. So thank you. Those of you that stuck around for the whole thing, thank you so much for listening. You can tune into Podbean, Spotify, Apple Podcast, YouTube, CG Magazine, or any of your favorite podcast app to listen to the continuing adventures of the Anime Research Society. Do you have a question or comment for the Society? Tweet at us at @A_R_Society or find us all on Twitter. Cole, what's your Twitter?
At Kaiser_Watson.
And Remington.
At Remington Joseph.
And Preston.
At Preston Doza, spelled D-O-Z-S-A.
You can also leave a comment on our Podbean page or on CG Magazine. CG Magazine.
I really want people to go to the Podbean page and fucking comment.
Oh, jeez, guys. This is what happens. Why we don't try to exceed an hour. Because
I start to lose my mind.
I lost my mind.
Is that like a death match for podcasts?
Well, let's try that again. You can leave a comment, especially about my inability to read a basic script into a microphone on our Podbean page.
You have a script in front of you.
We gotta survive, okay? We're up against whatever other random anime podcast next week, okay? We might keep doing this.
Put on the cage now.
It's a
Anime
cage match.
pod pit.
Okay. Lisa, you got it.
Okay, I am going to take over.
No, you're not. I'm done. Okay, so you can comment on CG Magazine, or you can comment on our Podbean page. There, see, I did it.
You almost did.
Next week,
Congratulations.
anime podcast cage matches. That's what's happening next week. Anyway, you can like the Anime Research Society on Facebook, and you can leave us a comment as well. And like, what should we research next? What are you guys doing?
Congratulations.
You're giving each other.
No one else wants to join in?
No.
Congratulations.
They left you to look like the jerk on your own.
Congratulations. There, I'll help you.
Oh, jeez.
The
Guys,
same references.
listeners, from everyone here, have a great weekend and happy researching.